Welcome to the Lift Your Story podcast with guest Sandra Colton-Medici.
Hi, everyone. I am Lorianne. I am that gal from Milton, Ontario, Canada, and I'm with.
I am that guy. I am Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas, and we'd like to welcome you to our Lift Your Story podcast.
In this episode, our guest is Sandra Colton-Medici, and she is a pro dancer turned author, educator, and digital strategist. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. How are you guys? Gals, guys.
We're good. We're good. Sandra, dance moms, so you think you can dance, the Tonight Show. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So my first love is performing arts, and I spent a long time, a lot of my career as a dancer, singer, and actor, and that happened a lot in Hollywood. So I appeared on Dancing with the Stars, performing with Raphael Sadiq. I was on So You Think You Can Dance, the first season. I'm technically, two trivia questions. I am the first tap dancer on So You Think You Can Dance. I am also the first kicked off of the live shows. So that is a badge of honor, and I wear it with pride. And I toured with Rheanna, and I also appeared on Dance Moms. I had a magazine called Dance Track Magazine, and we did a photo shoot with all of the girls on Dance Moms.
Wow. Yeah, when I saw that it was So You Think You Can Dance, I asked my wife, I said, hey, does this name sound familiar? And she goes, well, I don't know. I said, what's the first season? She goes, I didn't see the first season.
Nobody did. It's so funny. It's like the forgotten season. Lauren Sanchez was the host. She was replaced by Kat Deely, who has been the host for the remaining seasons. But you might remember Lauren Sanchez is now, I think, the girlfriend of Jeff Bezos. I think that's, Amazon.
So. I remember that name. I didn't watch the show, but I remember the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's also on Good Day LA, like a morning show here.
Oh,
so,
okay. Yeah. So you acted as well, correct?
I did. My first acting gig, I was actually, I think, about 9 years old. I did it was like a CBS TV movie of the week with, I played a very young, it was called Johnny May Gibson FBI. And it was about an actual person named Johnny May Gibson. She was one of the first like Black FBI agents. And I played her as a little girl. And the person who played the rest of the movie was Lynn Whitfield, which I don't know if you know who she is, but she went on to be this huge star. So yeah, so my acting career began, as a little itty bitty one. But I appeared in Bring It On, All or Nothing, which is a cheer movie. And then also The Day the Earth Stood Still, which is the remake, not the original, but the one with Keanu Reeves. So yeah.
It's exciting.
What's it like being an actor? On a TV series or a movie series?
I think that people think it's really glamorous and it's exciting that way. I think that, when you get on a set, it's fun because you get to go into like this other world, and, whatever the set is, you just kind of transform yourself into wherever that is. But I also think it is a little bit of a lonely life, if you will. Not every day are you acting with somebody else or a scene partner or anything like that. It's not always like the big hairspray, big dance number or anything. And you really have to, hone your skills and be able to stand on your own 2 feet, so to speak. So, to make sure that you can deliver lines every single time, every single take, because it's not just always one take. So it's an interesting job.
Yeah. I remember when we took the kids to Universal Studios in California back when they were young, and we got to see some sets, and and they show you like here's rain coming through the window, and they said, see those people way down there. It was real dark. It was bright sunny day, and they had a bunch of tarps over, so because they were filming a night scene in the day, and they showed how the house we're fixing to turn this house on fire, and it was just a lot of little neat things they showed, and they said, oh yeah, when you see a movie, they don't film it like it shows it. They film the end, they'll film the middle, it's all over the place. Then they all tie it together.
Exactly. I mean, when people are in locations, you only have them for a certain period of time. So, I live in a little bit east of Hollywood. And so, you see filming all the time around here. I think that we got a little note tag on our door the other day that said, filming LA Film Office or whatever. And then, a few hours later, you see a whole bunch of police escorts driving down the street, and then a car that has another car on top of it, and they're filming the people. Like, they're not actually driving, like what you think you see is not really what you see. So It's fun like that.
It's probably better off not knowing the tricks.
Yeah.
It's interesting the fascination that people have about that. We just recently had Woody Harrelson here in our little small town in Milton. Well, not so small anymore. It's going really fast. But all of the people, like, you do need all the cops, everything, because just that curiosity peaks like through the roof.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, it's good for tourism, I guess. That people come here to like maybe see a star. It's really great for people who are aspiring to do things in entertainment, because it gives them that little giddy feeling inside, like that could be me, like you just, and plus with the technology that we have today, where people can really be their own director and film, production house, and they could do it all for themselves right now, and then pop it up on YouTube, and you never know who's going to see it,
Yeah, that's interesting, because you see a lot of this, they use their iPhone and they filmed all this stuff, and you're going like, iPhone, seriously? But if they know how to edit and the effects and all, who would know the difference, right?
I mean, you may know the difference in a movie theater, but only if it's just kind of scratchy. I mean, most technical stuff you're not going to see unless that's your job. But there's so much technology these days that people can really just, shoot, edit, and deliver, disseminate a music video or a movie or something like that, all on their film, or excuse me, on their phone. I'm looking at my phone, all on their phone, literally like in minutes. If you were doing something short, that's really special. I think that, honing in on your skills is even better, so that you get what you really want out of your vision. And a lot of that just takes planning and strategy. But I think doing some of those things, a lot of the technology these days has really been ramped up as far as being able to have apps on your phone, whether it's through Adobe and, doing Final Cut with certain things in Premiere. And, there's a lot of stuff that you can do just right at your fingertips, which is really cool.
So I'm assuming, since you're a dancer, from the time you were a little girl, you were in dance.
I was, but that was only because I think I was too young to go into other things. My mom said that she could only put me in dance because that was really what was age appropriate at the time. A lot of other things that are a little more difficult, like piano, I think that I think we weren't at the age where we would even I don't know. I just know that my sister and I went into that. We also had vocal lessons, but not that young. We got into that a little bit older. And then we started performing as part of a show troupe. It was called Pizzazz. Of course, it was called Pizzazz, with not an asterisk. It was a P, and then there was a star as the asterisk, ZZAZZ. So, everybody has that group that they were part of, probably.
Well, I know I worked with a guy, and his daughter was in dance, and I mean, it's like sports are for the guys. It's a lot of commitment, and I know he would go to these dance competitions with his little girl. He said that's like this one school had all these different age groups that performed. They had to all have their hair, their makeup. He says, yeah, but she goes on at 9 o'clock in the morning. We have to stay there all day. We've got to come back Sunday all day, and she's already through dancing, unless they make it into the, the upper level, at the final day. But, he says it's expensive. It's really a big commitment, not only for the parents, but for the kids going to the practice, and all that stuff.
Yes. I think that there's, a lot of people think that, everybody can dance, which is, most people have that kind of, no, he's shaking his head. No, cannot do it. Okay. Well, you can move, to your own drum, right?
No, listen, my sister tried to teach me to two-step. She was just go with the beat of the music. That means absolutely nothing to me. I mean, I love music, but I am no rhythm and tone deaf, I guess, because I just
Oh.
don't get it.
Well, I mean, I think that whatever people try to do is it's their rhythm, right? So you're on your own thing, which is totally fine. I think that, you being you, authenticity is the word of the year. So I think that if you do what you do best, then, that's okay. But I think that a lot of times when you go to dance competitions, even way back in the day, I think they were still just as long. They were still up in the morning, getting the hair done, getting the makeup done, and then sing all day until the very end. And then, award ceremonies and blah, blah, blah. My mom actually put us in pageants as well. So big hair, don't care was like a thing. You're in Texas, so you probably have seen a lot of pageant hair. Lorianne, I'm not sure if it's a thing now or not, because I'm not in pageants anymore, but it was a thing then. But I think that the time commitment is very true and true to this day, that, what you put in is what you get out, right? And that's really of everything.
Yeah.
So you transitioned from that into a digital strategist. That's interesting. How did that come around?
I went through a few different steps, right? So in my time in entertainment, there have been a lot of times where I have gone from being in it to being focused on something outside of it. And that was really because I went to college at University of Oregon, and I studied sociology, and I minored in communication studies. And so I've always had that like journalism component. And then also on the sociology side, like really wanting to understand like what other people think and why people do what they do, and, communities and how they interact and all of that kind of stuff. So, I've always felt like I've had just curiosity as kind of like this other thing that I do, is like, I love learning, and that's just part of me. So in dance, I've accomplished a lot, in entertainment. And so I ended up writing a book. And that book is called Book Me: How to Become a Successful Working Dancer in Hollywood. And I wrote that in 2009. And I was like, I have all these experiences, and I want people to be able to come to LA or to New York and, be able to, have a leg up from just kind of like, I feel a lot of people just like get on a plane and they show up and they're like, now what do I do? And so I wanted to be like, read this book and you will be like leaps and bounds ahead of where you should be when you land, at LAX. And after that, I did more performing and more entertainment. But I wanted to kind of parlay that into the magazine, which is when I did Dance Track and ended up doing Dance Moms as well with that episode. And that was kind of more showcasing what I saw of my dance friends, which is that they're much more than dancers, that they are artists and designers and costumers and makeup, people and photographers. And, they have all these other things going on, because with artsy people, artistic people have a lot of fun doing everything, and it's kind of like an explosion, everybody has that friend that like kind of does everything really, really well. And so I felt like I had like this whole group of friends that did so many other things. And so that was what Dance Track was about, was to showcase what other things, these people were up to. Then that kind of led me into, I got to go back to school, right? Because I'm constantly being curious. So I went back to school, got my master's at USC. I got my doctorate at USC. And when I was doing my doctorate, I focused on e-commerce marketing strategies and targeting online consumers. And that's kind of the piece that kind of really took me into this other focus, which is really helping business owners. And the reason that it really resonated with me so much is because a lot of dancers, a lot of actors, a lot of people in the performing arts industry, they come into it and they love their craft, but they forget that they are a business. And so I personally was like, I need to service this, not just this community, but all communities who are really not understanding that it's not just about the product, it's about the brand. And so that's kind of where the digital strategy piece came into place, and why my collegeofstyle.com is about to launch in May and all of that. So that's kind of like the short nugget of it.
Yeah. So tell us about the passion pipeline.
So my book is called Passion Pipeline. And in 2020, everyone had to do something, right? Like we were all like, what are we doing? What's going on right now? And so I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to write a book. And then I told my husband one night, I said, I'm not going to write it. I'm just going to go in the room. So I went into our bedroom, and for about 45 minutes, I talked into my phone. So I did the talk to notation into my phone. And I said, I'm gonna just talk my phone this time, talk my book out instead of writing it out, because sometimes, people get stuck. And I was in that place where I was like, I don't really want to write it down. I don't want to get a pen and paper, and my hand hurts. And, I'm probably going to get arthritis from clicking too much on the computer. All of that thing went through my head, those thoughts. And I was like, I'm just going to talk it. So I talked my book into my phone, and then just formatted it afterward, because I thought, I want to talk about passion, and I don't really know how it's going to go, and I don't know what's going to come out. So let's just see. And it came out to be 8 chapters, really fast read. It became a #1 new release on Amazon when it debuted. And it's in the 1-hour short read section, so you can get through it within an hour. But I wanted it to be for people who had more focuses than one and needed to figure out how to pull it all together, because there's a lot of people who have multiple passions, and maybe they're kind of good at some, but not really good at all of them. And they need to figure out how to parlay that into an actual business. And so that's what the book is about.
Makes sense.
Yeah. That's everybody's kind of all over the place.
Yes.
But you're able to say, okay, look, let's forget about these things. Let's concentrate here, and try to help them with that, not the shotgun approach, the rifle approach.
I don't know about firearms, but whatever you're saying, sure. All I know is there's an acronym, and if you have this will give you kind of a bigger picture of the book, but pipeline from Passion Pipeline is actually an acronym. So it stands for practice inventiveness, pursue excitement, live inspired, and negotiate energy. And so if you do all of those things, and you can come back to each part of that process of the pipeline to make sure that you're really honing in on each different aspect of it, so that you can really fulfill what your passion is.
I think I would imagine sort of tough, having been through that with, gazillion different passions, and, and the other thing too, is you want to learn all about them too, and you want to better yourself in all of them. But there's really, you have to look at your time and how you want to, where is the most value and passion that you can put your time into. But I know as being someone who also has that creative side of me, it's sometimes tough. I go, no, I've got that book. No, I've got this. And then it took me a while to funnel it all down into, this is where I want to go. Once you do that, it's incredible, because you love waking up in the morning, because you know exactly where you're going to be putting all your attention to. Yeah. I found when I was waking up the morning with about 10 different passions lying on the table, not knowing which one to pick up at any one time, it'd end up sometimes not picking any of them up.
No.
So yeah, kind of like, I don't know really where to start. Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's almost
back to bed.
Yeah, it's debilitating. It's almost stressful, right? When you're like, how do I choose, and what's the most important? And I think that a lot of people need to lead with what they do best, because if you are, and sometimes that's hard for people, because maybe their parents wanted them to be a teacher, and so they're really good at that, but they don't want to do that. So what I would say is, if you are not going to lead with what you do best, then you need to get that second skill as good as your first skill, so that you can basically negotiate that with yourself to say, I'm not doing what I'm best at because I just got this just as good. You know what I mean? So I've come across a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm really good at dance, but I'm 40, I don't want to do that anymore because my body hurts. And then that's like me. I don't want to do that anymore because my body hurts, so this is what I do instead. But I had to go back to school, not once, not twice, you know what I mean? I did all of that so that I could say, okay, I'm an expert in XYZ, and I'm going to focus on this. And in order to do that, you can't just say, well, now I'm going to do this and I'm prepared, unless you actually prepare yourself, right?
Exactly. So the course Sweetener.
Yeah, so Course Sweetener, that is my online course program. It's basically to help entrepreneurs who have either a brick and mortar business and they want to figure out like, how do I take that and make it into an online course? Or maybe they have already gone through a program on how to create an online course and they are missing pieces, because what I found is there was like an explosion of online courses in 2020. And, this one over here was $2,000 and it's, telling you how to build a sales funnel. And this one over here is, $1,500 and it's teaching you how to do email marketing. But they didn't all kind of have a through line to get one person from A to B, which means, if you're a business and you just started and you're like, I'm going to do this. Okay, do I have to buy 15 courses to do all of that? No. And I basically was like, if you have a course, this is the little sweetener that's going to get you to fill in the gaps. If you don't, then this is like the sweetest thing you've ever seen, because it's going to get you from point A to point B with the foundational knowledge that you need as far as starting a business, with the branding knowledge that you need as far as understanding that it's not just about a product, and also the delivery side of things about sales and marketing and all of that other stuff. So that's what Course Sweetener is.
Well, you mentioned courses, and I mean, I got frustrated because I was buying courses. You spend all this time, you go through them, but they promise you that everything's in it, but there's always something missing, or something has changed in the marketplace from the time they put the course together. They haven't updated it.
Yeah. I feel bad because I see a lot of people who want to buy courses on Facebook ads, and Facebook ads change all the time, and a lot of it doesn't even have to do with what Facebook wants. It's really what privacy laws that are changing, and different things that they can ask you to opt into, and now you can't do that, or European Union laws are changing. And so if you bought a course on Facebook ads, I feel for you, because it's probably not even valid anymore because so much stuff has changed recently. And you notice, you'll notice when something changes, because you'll have to opt in on your phone again. It'll have to ask you, with different updates to whatever privacy laws. So
Actually enjoy. I've been lucky as it's not a sales pitch, but Udemy I've been really impressed with, because a lot of the instructors who are selling their courses on there do update them.
They do.
I went back on, I do have a Facebook one and a Google Analytics one, and I was fascinated because I thought, oh God, this has got to be out of date right now, because I bought it 2 years ago. Went on and they had it. It was the 2020 version, and I thought, wow, that is a worthwhile investment, and you're not spending I'm sure there's courses out there that are their value of $2,000 is worth it. But if you're on a budget, and the fact that it stayed to date was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's kind of always going to be a disclaimer with technology, or even with software, that use it right now, because things do change. And that's the same with, when you look on Instagram and people are teaching you Instagram hacks and tricks and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, they know it's going to change. And they kind of try to preface that with, this might change. This might be a new feature right now, but it might get taken away. I think a lot of people know that about the internet. And so, they're willing to spend for the now. And maybe that's a good business model, to know that, your course has to be updated, so people have to come back to buy. It is what it is.
Yeah. But it does. Technology changes things so fast. It's almost by the minute.
Literally.
Yeah. So you have your own podcast. So tell us about that.
So I started it last November, I think was the first episode. It's called Sweet Bites with Sandra, and bites is spelled BYTES, technology. And but it also it's about digital business, foundational help. I have interviews with different leaders in business and performing arts, just kind of talking about their stories, their challenges, solutions, for people who are working in either business or trying to figure out some of the technology side of things. And I've added, since I started, I was just doing one per week, and I've added a Tuesday show, which is just a shorter version, where I focus on College of Style. And what I am doing in that, I created the hashtag building a brand in broad daylight, because I want people to see as I'm building this brand so that they know that they can do it too. And I know that some brands don't want to show you anything until it's like, boom, now we're here. And I'm kind of a different mindset with this, in saying, I'm doing surveys. Do you want to be a part of it? I'm, setting up a Kajabi website. Do you want to know what's in it? So that people are, coming on the journey with me. So those are some of what my Tuesday episodes are about. And then the Thursdays include leaders in business and performing arts.
See, I think people would be interested in that. It's just, hey, how do I do this? And somebody's showing them, hey, look, this is all glamorous on the end, but from the starting point to there, it's not so glamorous.
No, I mean, a lot of people want it to be, and hopefully, the trenches story aspect of it is where we're all at, a lot of the time. I feel like you need to pat your back for all of the small wins that you have. Like, I programmed my phone the other day and I was like, let's celebrate. Because I was like, I don't think it's here. I got an Android phone, because I'm like, I have an iPhone, but I got an Android so that I can see what my business stuff looks like on another phone, because you gotta know, right? But I was just like, I don't do Android. I've had Apple. What is wrong with me? And I was like, let's bust out the champagne, because this is a huge deal. And I feel like sometimes people need to do that more often, like celebrate those small wins, because no one is out there cheering for you for the small stuff. They'll celebrate you when you win an award or graduate from college or all that big stuff. But the small stuff, you take that moment and you celebrate it whatever way you need to, a Netflix and chill night, or, whatever it has to be. My husband sometimes will be like, oh, is it a cheese board night? Okay, get the wine, get the cheese. My husband's French, so we love that kind of a moment.
That's cute. I was thinking when we were talking about the entertainment, I remember my son, he wanted to be on a game show. And so everybody thinks that's going to be so simple too, but no, we were in there for 3 days and probably to 6 to 8 hours, because of they film it all at once. So the contestants move around, and it's when your name is called. And my poor kids, I had my 2 younger ones with me too, and they're sitting there, mom, and I mean, they thought it was gonna be exciting, right? Like their brother's going to be on there, but so it's not even just a game show. It's not necessarily as glamorous as people would think so. But I found it interesting.
What's funny is that on So You Think You Can Dance, it was technically not necessarily a game show, but we had similar rules, in that if somebody, like for the season winner, they had the option, there was like a prize of like, a New York apartment for a year, or you could take the money, the cash value. Like there were certain things that were similar to like a game show that way.
Oh, that's fun. So, but even just being there though was exciting though. I mean, I know that for me, probably more so than my 2 younger ones who were getting awfully bored at some point in times, but but in general, it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
So Sandra, how can our listeners reach out to you?
Oh, well, you can find me on the internet, of course. You can go to my website, which is sandracolton-medici.com, or something that's even easier, you can go to collegeofstyle.com. That's just easy to remember. And you can find me there. Also on social media, I'm on a lot of social media, either on Twitter as just Sandra Colton, or on both Facebook and Instagram at Dr., which is just DR, and then Sandra Colton-Medici.
Okay.
And just for the listeners, the Colton is spelled Colton.
Colton. And I used to say this, and I don't know if you guys would relate to this, but a lot of people would see my Colton and they would think I was spelling cotton, because they thought that the T was crossing the L too. So I used to just say like Colt 45, or like And people will be like, you're like a teenager, you shouldn't know that. But there's a Colton, California. There's a Colton piano. So if you ever forget it, you can look up those places.
Thank you so much for today. Really appreciate your time, Sandra.
Yeah, thank you, Sandra.
Oh, thank you. Have a good day.
You
Okay.
too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Be sure to visit us at lifterstory.com.